Good morning, my beloved. It is 7:30 again Central Time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for all of you who are willing to give a one-time gift or maybe be a monthly giver. Again, I did that because people asked me. They told me you make it hard for us to bless you, and so I've tried to make it easy. If you go to the leespeaks.com on the internet, there is a place to give if you want to give. I did that because I wanted to honor people and because I feel the Lord told me to when I was on sabbatical. I have a question for you today. What's the one thing the Lord has told you to do recently? Or what's that one thing that you feel encouraged or compelled to do? I know for most individuals, we hear and feel we need to do things, but many times it goes undone because we're just overwhelmed at trying to add that thing to our to do list. But I want to encourage you today to do one thing every day that moves the needle forward. One thing every day that gets you closer to that thing you want to accomplish. I will tell you for me, here at Victory Life, Jubilee is coming up, and I'm going to be allowed to sell my books at Jubilee. And there are several things that people who are connected to me want to do to make that a different experience for individuals, a better experience. And so there's a lot to be done between now and Jubilee. And if I think about it in the big picture, like you, it's a little daunting, it's a little overwhelming. But what I know is history tells me if I will just do one thing every day to move it a little closer, make one fall, one phone call. I don't want to make one fall. Make one phone call, make one thing happen today that gets me a little bit closer to the fulfillment of that. I have found I will get it done. And you can too. You know, the scripture says in James 1:19, be ye doers of the word and not hearers only. And then he goes on to say, for if you don't do, you deceive your own self. Everybody else sees and knows you're the only one who is deceived. You think you're accomplishing something and you are not. So he says, when you don't do, when you just hear, you deceive yourself. He says, you're like the man who looked in a mirror, looked at your face, you saw what you are, and then immediately forgot what kind of person you are. And here's the truth of the matter. Once something is going, it stays going. Once something is stopped, it stays stopped, unless there's outside influence. So the one thing I know is that if you'll start the ball rolling just a little bit, it'll be easier to keep rolling. But if you're stopped, you'll stay stopped unless you choose to start to roll the ball again. I have lots of things to do, and my schedule hasn't lightened up any, and it's probably not going to lighten up between now and Jubilee. So I'm just going to have to figure out a way to do one thing, one day at a time, to move me a little closer to that goal. And what I know is I will accomplish the goal. History tells me because I've done this many, many times, and I'm asking you to do it. And if it's the Lord speaking to you, He wants you to do it as well. He will give you the grace to help you accomplish it. So if God is speaking to you and He has told you to do something, just take a step towards that, and the grace of God will be with you and give you more grace to take the next step. The scripture says God gives more grace to the humble. When you take a step in faith, you've humbled yourself before God. And when you humble yourself, the scripture says God gives you more grace. And grace is God's ability to do what you can't do in and of your own strength. And so if you'll take that step, if you'll choose to go forward, maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a letter, maybe you need to read one chapter, maybe the Lord's asked you to read a book, maybe He's asked you to write a book. So today, just put down, I'm going to write a book and make that your one thing for today. Or I'm going to write this letter. Or I'm going to head this direction. And just write it down. I also know that the people who write their vision down, the things they want to accomplish, The people who write it down get more accomplished than the people who don't write it down. There's something about you and I seeing it written down. Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision down, make it plain so that those that see it can run with it. There's something about writing it down that is kingdom mindset. And when you write it down and set it before you so you can see it every day, it, it encourages you to go forward. It encourages you to fulfill that desire. So I would encourage you, no matter what, just write what you want to do, what you feel the Lord is asking you to do. Write it down. And then you can begin to be a doer of that word. Write it down, make it plain. Don't make it generic. I'm going to save money. That's pretty generic and that's a good goal. But make it a little more specific. I'm going to save $5 a paycheck. Now, Pastor Lee, that's not much. It's more than you're saving now. If that's where you want to start, write it down. I'm going to say $5 a paycheck. And then stick to it. And you'll find that the Lord will honor your faithfulness, your steadfastness, your discipline. And you will begin to be changed by the daily activity of heading that direction. You will become the doer and not the hearer only. Today, our world, your family, your company, the place you go, is in desperate need of you being fully alive to what God is asking you to do, to be an encourager, to be someone who prays for others, to be someone who's full of joy in a situation that needs your presence. What has the Lord said to you? Take a step that direction and continue to walk that direction. You know, there's a phrase that says a journey of 1,000 miles is taken one step at a time. And that is a true statement. You can literally walk across the world if you'll just take one step at a time every day. I know that it may be overwhelming to you what the Lord may be asking you to do, but that's part of the way you know it's the Lord and just not your own heart. It's the Lord will always ask you to do what's beyond you to do by yourself so that He can be a part of it, so that you can walk in faith and see the kingdom advanced. So today, write that thing down. Make a first step. And then tomorrow, make a second step. And then the third day, make a third step. And I promise you, as you begin to move, you will find it easier for the Lord to steer you in a direction. You know, my dad had an Oliver 66 tractor that he had rebuilt, and we loved that tractor. It was a big green tractor, and when that tractor was stopped, it was so hard to turn the wheel because they didn't have power steering at that time. But if you could get that tractor going just a little bit, you could turn that tractor with one finger. When you are stopped, it's hard for the Lord to change direction and to tell you where to go and to move you where you need to go because you're not moving. But if you'll just move just a little bit, the Lord can steer you in the direction you need to go very easily with just a simple word, a whisper in your prayer time. So write it down. Choose to be a doer of that word. If the Lord tells you today, just be an encourager, then be an encourager. Look for opportunities to tell somebody they're doing a great job. Look for an opportunity to tell somebody that was a great meal. Look for an opportunity to say to somebody, hey, that really looks good on you. Find a way to encourage, and what you will find is you will get blessed. What I know about God is if He's asked you to do something, it's because it's going to benefit you and the world when you do it. Be doers of His word and not just hearers only. Live your Christian life out loud. The world doesn't mind living their life out loud, and they want you to tolerate it. So live your life out loud and ask them to tolerate it. Be one of those individuals that is not ashamed of being a follower of Jesus. Don't be pushing it down people's throat and, being ignorant, but live out loud your Christian life. Be happy, be joyful, be a person of peace. Be someone who obeys the voice of the Lord, and it just doesn't matter how they respond to it. You will feel better at the end of the day by being a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Love you all so much. Mary Lou, bless you this morning. Nathan, bless you. Maria, thank you. David, Junior Scribner, bless you, my friend. Gary, Jim, bless you all so much for being so faithful and watching. Thank you for sharing. Stuart, love you guys. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you next Monday.